I think there's been some cool news, arguably, when it comes to Zebec, and let me explain why. Because very recently, it was announced that Simon, which is the CEO of Zebec, by the way, he's going to be one of the keynote speakers at XRP Las Vegas, which is supposedly the largest XRP conference in the world. That's going to be from April 30th to May 1st, of course, in 2026. But here's the thing, let's take into consideration how the other keynote speakers do include someone like Brad Garlinghouse, which we of course know is the CEO of Ripple. We also take a look at, for instance, the CPO of Solana is going to be there, the CIO of Bitwise, and also on top of that, the CCO of Caleb and Brown, which is Jake Boyle, not to be confused with Jake Paul, but yeah, that's the thing. So when I take a look at, for instance, what Zebec is doing, sure, this may not necessarily kind of make ZBCN do anything in terms of price. I don't think it would necessarily do that, but I think this is good in terms of giving Zebec more exposure because we have to consider, for instance, Ripple. It has an aspect of ISO 20022. So does Zebec actually as of right now. So the thing is, now Simon being there, he could give more exposure, right, when it comes to Zebec. Talk about it. Maybe talk about the super app because it's probably already going to be out by then, because it is going to be, again, this conference from April 30th to May 1st. They're already planning for the super app to happen in February 25th. So, he could talk about that. He could talk about aspects of payrolls. He could talk about the aspects of the cards, even though cards, it's not like anything that revolutionary, but still, he could talk about that. There's at least things to talk about. So when I take a look at this right here, I think it's a good step moving forward, arguably, for something like Zebec, because now it's beginning to be put more on a world stage, right? And also, keep in mind, the CPO of Solana is going to be there. And we all know that Zebec has a backer, like, for instance, Solana Ventures. So maybe the CPO of Solana could kind of, vouch for Zebec, right? Talk about it, maybe chime in when Simon is saying something. I mean, I don't know the format of the conference, but I'm just saying at least that could happen, right? Because maybe they're there and they're taking a look at Simon and they're saying, okay, what's Zebec? And then maybe the CPO of Solana chimes in and says, oh, you know what? Solana Ventures is a backer when it comes to Zebec and all this. That could add more conversations, right? That could add more of a dialogue there. And maybe, who knows, harbor new partnerships when it comes to Zebec. Could a partnership happen with Ripple? I mean, who knows, right? We'll wait and see, but maybe if Simon gets to know Brad Garlinghouse a little bit, maybe if he, I guess talks about Zebec, who knows? We'll wait and see, but at least there's some contact there, right? At least there's some, I guess, opportunities to interact. So I do like that. We'll wait and see what Simon does, but I just thought this was really cool, actually. And I've been to Las Vegas many times, so I just thought this was pretty cool. However, even besides that point, when I take a look at ZBCN, the main point of contention as of right now is that it's around 50 times lower than 10 cents. And sure, it may not sound like a good thing, but I'm looking to dollar cost average here. The lower I can dollar cost average into something, the happier I'd be. This is my mindset. And especially with Zebec still doing things, right? Especially having already achieved ISO 20022 compliance and still, working towards things like trying to launch the super app. Would I complain if something that I feel like is improving yet is low in terms of the charts? The answer is no, I'm not going to complain. Also, let's keep in mind, like when it comes to Zebec, it's a relatively sort of niche project, right? It doesn't have that mainstream sort of popularity. So I think stuff like this could incrementally, again, this XRP conference could kind of, I guess, put it again more in a world stage. So if, let's say, there was a hypothetical altcoin season, would 10 cents be something so ridiculous? Here's the thing. At 10 cents, considering the current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around 9.8 billion. Like, is that too much to ask for? Keep in mind, ZBCN, or should I say Zebec, it's arguably top 5 as of right now in terms of the niche of global trade and finance within this space. Sure, that's like not the most interesting thing out there, and that niche is relatively kind of only focused on Ripple and Stellar anyways, so the other options don't really gain that much attention usually. But we have to consider what happens if there's an altcoin season and this has mainstream attention. Again, what around a 9.8 billion market cap seems so ridiculous. Keep in mind, ZBCN is arguably a top 5 project within this space as of right now in terms of global trade and finance. Number 1 is Ripple, of course. Number 2 is Stellar, of course, right? XDC, of course, is number 3. But number 4, number 5, it's like a toss-up between Zebec and Onyx. So I think that's pretty cool. So if it could maintain that sort of positioning heading into a hypothetical altcoin season, I guess 10 cents, I don't know if it would necessarily surprise me. That's the thing. And here's also my mindset. Sure, I'll never be able to know when there could ever be a hypothetical start to an altcoin season. There's just no way. However, the only thing I know to do is wait, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be waiting, staying patient, and that's about it, because that's what I set out to do anyways, and that's what I'm going to do. Just wait and stay patient, because I can't control this, right? There's nothing I can do about this space. The only thing I can do is just stay patient. That's about it. But I feel like that's not even the most difficult part anyways, because I'm living my life to begin with, right? Like, sure, if let's say hypothetical altcoin season happens in 2027, who knows? We'll wait and see. But this is just a make-believe scenario. But from this point on to 2027, am I still going to have to brush my teeth? Yes. Am I still going to have to live my life? Absolutely. Am I still going to have to eat and stuff like that? Yeah. Whether I'm holding or not, those activities will still happen for me. So either I could believe in a project in the background while I still live my life, or I don't hold it. And sure, it's totally fine as well. But 10 years ago, was I holding Bitcoin? No. Had I been holding or not holding, I would have still had to live my life anyways, right? That's the thing. But of course, I can't go back in the past. There's no way I could do that. So I focus on the present and I focus on the right now. Is Zebec ever going to become the most popular project out there, even within its own niche? No way. It can't overtake Stellar, let alone something like Ripple, but it doesn't need to, right? I mean, again, it's around 50 times lower than 10 cents. It doesn't need groundbreaking figures to do anything significant in my perspective, but this is just a only time will tell type of scenario. And also, I forgot to mention this, but I'll mention it right now. In that conference right there, that XRP conference, you know what Zebec could do? They could also kind of talk about how Circle, or should I say Simon, right? He could talk about how Circle, which is the creator of USDC, how they're a backer when it comes to Zebec. He could talk about that too. And he could maybe talk about or allude to how actually Circle holds quite a significant amount of ZBCN, which apparently it does. So I think that right there could also give it more credibility, right? But again, these are just some ideas. Is Simon watching my videos? Probably not, but I'm just saying something he could probably talk about, maybe some ideas. But here's the thing, when I take a look at something like Zebec, I'm still a fan. I haven't given up. I'm still dollar cost averaging once a month, which I get it. People like to say, why do you keep talking about that? Well, it's because that's what I'm doing though, right? I don't want to give up when everyone's giving up. That's the thing. I don't want to leave when everyone's leaving. I want to be more focused, because when people are leaving, when people give up, usually what happens, the chart goes down. However, that is actually a prime, or should I say an optimum condition for me to dollar cost average. So I'm not going to be complaining. That's why when a lot of people are leaving, I want to be more focused. But I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just my mindset currently when it comes to something like Zebec. And I just thought this was really cool, because who thought that Simon was going to even be a keynote speaker in that conference? I didn't even think about that, but now I do. So I find that pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. Just a very quick update when it comes to Zebec. I just want to say thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very nice day, and feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. And also feel free to like the video if you liked it. And I'll see y'all on the next one. It's Willie the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.